The issue at hand involves the emergency transfer of approximately $5.3 billion from Department of Defense (DoD) acquisition accounts, specifically procurement and research, development, test, and evaluation (RDT&E), to ensure military personnel receive their paychecks during the extended federal government shutdown in the fall of 2025. This executive action, circumventing congressional appropriations, was enacted to stabilize troop morale and maintain critical readiness while the legislative branch remained deadlocked on a funding bill. This move represents a direct conflict between immediate personnel welfare and long-term national security investment. While the payment guaranteed relief for over 1 million active duty service members and their families, many of whom live paycheck to paycheck, the source of the funds immediately drew sharp criticism. The money was drawn from unobligated balances, potentially utilizing the multi-year defense funding provided through the reconciliation process in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This action, though framed as a temporary fix, essentially sacrifices future military capability to resolve a present political failure, highlighting the systemic fragility of the budgeting process. Reasons and consequences. Reasons for the diversion. The primary reasons for this extraordinary diversion were political and humanitarian necessity, driven by the immediate threat of a lapse in military pay. Morale and readiness. A missed paycheck for 1.3 million service members creates acute financial distress, directly impacting morale, retention, and ultimately, military readiness. The executive branch used its commander-in-chief authority to protect the foundational element of the armed forces, its people. Executive authority and impasse. The president explicitly directed the DoD to use all available funds after Congress failed to pass standalone legislation, like the Pay Our Military Act, to fund the troops. This unilateral action served to pressure lawmakers, removing one of the most potent political pressure points of the shutdown, the prospect of unpaid service members. Availability of funds. The use of RDT&E and procurement accounts was viable because these funds are typically managed as multi-year appropriations. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act provided a large pool of defense funding available through 2029, making it one of the few legally accessible sources of significant unobligated cash. Consequences to defense strategy. The consequences of raiding $5.3 billion from the acquisition budget are significant, impacting both current readiness and future technological superiority. Delayed modernization. RDT&E funding is the lifeblood of military modernization, covering everything from hypersonic weapon prototypes to next-generation cyber capabilities. A $5.3 billion cut risks the cancellation or severe delay of crucial development programs aimed at countering pacing threats, such as China and Russia. This threatens the long-term technological edge of the United States. Industrial base instability. Procurement funding sustains the defense industrial base. The halting or delaying of contracts, particularly for low-rate initial production, can destabilize key defense contractors, lead to layoffs of specialized workers, and increase the unit cost of equipment when production eventually restarts. Fiscal and legal precedent. The move establishes a dangerous precedent for the executive branch to unilaterally restructure the DoD budget during a political crisis. This blurs the line between congressional appropriation and executive discretion, raising potential legal challenges under the Anti-Deficiency Act and undermining Congress's constitutional power of the purse. Prediction and solutions. Prediction. In the short term, the DoD will likely face severe operational challenges as it attempts to manage the resulting shortfall. The Pentagon will almost certainly submit a supplemental appropriations request to Congress to replenish the $5.3 billion, but this request will become a new flashpoint for partisan debate, delaying the restoration of funds. Defense program managers will be forced to make difficult, immediate cuts, likely prioritizing the delay of experimental RDT&E programs over the termination of existing procurement contracts. If the funds are not fully replaced, expect to see the complete termination of smaller, but strategically important next-generation research programs, functionally ensuring a deficit in military capabilities several years down the line. Solutions addressing this recurring crisis requires both short-term legislative fixes and long-term budget process reform. Permanent military pay protection. Congress should immediately pass permanent, self-executing legislation that ensures all active-duty military personnel and essential civilian support staff are funded automatically during any lapse in appropriations. This removes military pay as political leverage and prevents future diversions from critical acquisition accounts. Budget process reform. Lawmakers must commit to passing all 12 annual appropriations bills on time or adopting a credible, non-punitive continuing resolution (CR) mechanism. The repeated reliance on partisan confrontation leading to shutdowns is a fundamental governance failure. Designated emergency reserves. The DoD could establish a limited, dedicated, and strictly audited readiness contingency fund. This fund, separate from acquisition accounts, would be legally designated solely for payroll during a short-term lapse, eliminating the justification for raiding modernization accounts. This would require specific congressional approval, but provides a safer, pre-vetted fiscal buffer.